so let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that is, should a 66-year-old senior citizen be riding a little mini-moto trail bike solo for 500 miles through the Pennsylvania woods? Well, obviously my answer to that is yes, because I'm doing it. But here's my thoughts. When I took up, seriously riding, adventure riding, I knew that, I'm relatively old. I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'8", 160 some pounds. And so I would need a small bike, because if you ride alone and you drop your bike, you have to be able to pick it up no matter the circumstance. And so I chose, the little Honda Trail 125, which I'll talk more about a little bit later on. But, what are the dangers? Well, obviously you could have an accident, and, if you're solo, you're in big trouble, potentially. So I've taken the usual precautions that I think many of you watching, I'm guessing most of you watching this video, have done. I have a Garmin InReach 2, and that keeps me in contact with my wife. I also send update messages to my son. I tell her when I'm starting my trip. I send her messages throughout the day saying everything's going okay, and then I tell her when I'm ending my ride for the day. She tracks me on the map, and it works out really well. Of course, you have the SOS button if all else fails. So I've done that. I pay really strict attention to the maintenance on the bike. Make sure the chain is in perfect shape, make sure the tires are in good shape, tire pressures are correct, the oil's changed. Everything mechanically that can go wrong, I try to mitigate that through good maintenance. I have a full set of tools. I can deal with just about anything that would reasonably happen. Of course, I know unreasonable things happen, and that puts the adventure in adventure riding. Nothing is guaranteed. I carry 2 MSR bottles, 30 ounces each of extra fuel. I've only needed that a couple times, and one time I probably actually didn't need to put it in. But anyway, that's, make sure I don't run out of fuel. The big part of safety is planning and preparation. Know what you're getting yourself into before you get into it. I do a detailed studies of all the routes that I'm going to undertake if they're new to me. I make sure I understand the conditions, and then I do what everybody else does. These routes have been run many times, and people have posted YouTube videos about them, so you get to preview a chunk of the route. Obviously, you don't get to see the whole thing, because if people are riding 8-10 hours a day, they'll put up a 15-minute video. You're not going to see all the conditions. They're going to put up the cool stuff in their video. I understand that, but it is a way to at least preview the route. I make sure I know where all the gas stops are, just general precautions. And then, to a degree, you have to be kind of philosophical about it. Nothing in life is guaranteed. You know what they say, life is a series of calculations. Calculate well. And so I try to do that. I use my experience of riding and my 60 plus years experience in life. I have a rule: if it's not fun, try to avoid it if you reasonably can. The only reason I do this is because I enjoy it. If I get to something that's not enjoyable, or that I think my better judgment tells me it's dangerous, I don't do it. I've pulled out of routes before that I just didn't like the way things were going. Now, whenever I do these rides, I'm fully suited up. I've got armored pants, armored jacket, gloves, heavy boots, specifically made for this. So, if I do take a tumble, I'm as protected as well as can be. Of course, I have a full coverage helmet. I think the biggest safety factor, one of the biggest ones, is I go slow. I'm not 30 years old and think I'm going to live forever. I know bad things can happen in an instant. I don't have anything to prove by, seeing how fast I can do a route, and that's not why I'm in this sport, or this hobby, this interest, whatever the heck it is. I'm in it to do exactly what I'm doing right at this moment, to ride through beautiful forests and think, wow, how great is this? So speed, I'm not interested in it. I mean, obviously, if I was interested in speed, I wouldn't have a Honda Trail 125. This little thing tops out at 50, if you're lucky, 55. It'll hit 60 downhill. Okay, so we're talking about safety. This next part is endearing. I don't know if you can see that, but there's Frontiersman Bear Attack Deterrent Spray strapped to the front of my bike. My wife, well, let's back up. To do this, I wouldn't be able to do it without my wife being supportive of it. When I first wanted to get into it, I think she was maybe a little bit, anxious about it, but she saw the preparations that I did, and she sees, the safety things built into it, and so she's on board with it. But when I told her I was going to be riding through the Pennsylvania wilds, 500 miles, she's from Pennsylvania. She grew up outside of Philadelphia. She knows there's bears here, and there are bears in these woods. But she became concerned that I would be the victim of a bear attack. So, all on her own, she ordered a bear spray and just put it on the counter one day and said, "Take this with you." So I did. I think the chances of being attacked by a bear, as long as you take all reasonable precautions, are pretty minimal. But anyway, I had my bear attack deterrent spray with me, strapped right on the front, and she insisted that I, keep it handy. And so that's what I'm doing. It's the least I can do because she's so good about, being supportive of me taking off by myself, riding solo on these ADV trips. She's really just terrific about it. Diesel, unleaded. Nope, no gas here. Okay. Supposed to be another station on down. Supposed to be gas here at the end of town. Okay, where's the gas station that's supposed to be here? See a gas station. Well, that's interesting. There's supposed to be gas in that town. Nothing. Just came through a little bit of a gas crisis. Renovo, both stations that are there are closed. There's no gas there that I could find. And so there was another one up ahead at Tamarack. It's a little podunk store. It's closed. Gas pumps look like they were from the 60s or 70s, so no gas there. They're both labeled as having gas on the route, but both of them aren't even open, so no gas. And I was about to head, deep into the forest, and I had 2 clicks left on the gas gauge, because I planned to top off the tank and then I'd be good back to the beginning of my route. And so anyway, I got on Gaia and zoomed in and found in Cross Village, Cross Creek, something like that. There was a little like general store, and son of a gun, they had a tank that I had not seen since the 70s, where you flip the lever up on the side, and of course no credit card or anything, it's all cash. But they had gas, and so I was able to tank up, and so now I'm good all the way back to Rotterdam State Park. But, you know, gas anxiety, it's one of the ever-present things on these trips. Now, I have 2 MSR bottles of fuel, so I have, you know, between 50 and 60 ounces of extra fuel. That may have gotten me all the way back, because the next gas place I could see was an Emporium. So, anyway, I have gas anxiety, and that didn't help it any. But I'm good now, so the anxiety's gone. I've got a full tank. I've got twice as much gas on board as I need to get back. So I can relax and enjoy the rest of the ride. You know, those of you watching this that, you know, are watching it because you have a CT125 or maybe you want to get one, this bike I think is ideal for this route. I mean, the only, you know, negative part, and it's a very minor negative, is, yeah, you do have to get on some 55-mile-an-hour state highways, and they do have hills, and you're not going to be doing 55 mile an hour on a hill, even without a multi-day camping pack. You're going to be down in the 40s. There was some times when I was topping out at, you know, 35 mile an hour. And again, I'm 160. I've got about 55 pounds of gear on, so I'm still well within the 265 pound, you know, capacity limit of the bike. And yeah, I mean, you get down into the 30s if you get on a long hill, you know, a long steep hill. That's just the fact of having 8.7 horsepower to propel, you know, over 400 pounds of stuff. The bike weighs 260, and, you know, you've got another, you know, 220, 230 on it. You know, you've got more than 500 pounds almost. So that's all 8.7 horsepower is going to do. But it's rarely a problem. In fact, I've had no issues with it. You know, you just go slow a few times, people pass you, and it never lasts for long. And then, you know, you get on to the track like this, and it's just wonderful. So if you have a small bore bike, whether it's a CT125 or something else, and, you know, you're within the weight capacity of the bike, just do it. I mean, the PA Wilds is a fairly mild as BDRs go. In fact, it's a good one to do as your first BDR. So it's just an enjoyable experience. Again, this is day 4. I'm going to complete it later on this evening or this afternoon. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get back to Rotterdam State Park, but just a wonderful time. And obviously, if you have the luxury, like I do, because I'm retired, of, you know, choosing to go when there's a good extended forecast, that can make all the difference. It rains quite a bit here. That's why they have the PA Wilds. That's why they have these forests, because they get a lot of rain. So, you know, if you can get a good 4-day forecast, and you can leave on short notice and run it when it's relatively warm and dry, yeah, definitely do it. It makes the experience so much better. But anybody who does ADV riding for any amount of time knows you're going to get rained on sometimes. Even if you have a great forecast, things change, and, you know, you run into rain. So always be prepared for it. I cover my bike every night to, you know, protect it from rain, but mostly dew. You know, it's no fun to get on a wet bike in the morning. It's a lot better to get on a dry one. And, you know, the bike cover, I have a Nelson rig bike cover, and it fits this bike perfectly. I think it's a size small, and it fits it ideally. In fact, there's grommets that hook perfectly under the foot peg corner scrapers, and it's like it's made for the CT125. and it fits over the bike fully geared up. I have a 40 liter and a 25 liter Hurricane dry bag on the back, and of course I don't take them off at night. It's too much of a hassle, and it fits over that perfectly. So another thing that I try to do, just for general best practices and safety purposes, is every couple hours take a break, get off the bike, walk around, you know, get things circulating again, and just kind of collect my thoughts, think about the ride, think about where I'm going, think about what I've seen. I don't really get tired riding the little CT125. It only weighs 260 pounds with a full tank of gas, and even when I've got, you know, a full multi-day camping pack on it, it's not that heavy, so it's not like it would tire you out like a larger motorcycle would. But it's just a good practice to take a break, and you know, it gives you a chance to check things out, make sure you haven't lost anything, you know, nothing's fallen off. You can see, like I'm doing here, I'm just making sure everything's still strapped on okay. You know, if you're filming, it's a good time to adjust your angles, change your camera positions, clean your lenses, just kind of make sure everything's set right if you're filming. And you know, have a snack, of course, take a drink. You know, whenever you get to a really beautiful place like this, of course you're going to want to stop and take things in, because this is why we adventure ride.